In the world today, there are few people better at shutting down woke culture than Piers Morgan. Watch as he absolutely dismantles their argument time and time again. You guys have got to check this out.
Morgan isn't afraid to give his strong opinions and thoughts about the woke culture. He isn't scared of getting canceled or hated on, and that's what makes him a special journalist.
Well, no, but if I asked you, for example, should biological males be allowed to compete in women's sport? Hang on, what would you say?
This is a crazy question that I'm not here to talk about.
What would you say?
Because it's not something
you can't
I'm an
answer,
expert
can you?
on. I'm not an expert on it.
No.
The famous British journalist and political commentator had enough of the woke culture. In many interviews, he completely humiliated and destroyed woke people, leaving them shocked and speechless.
Let me ask you a question. Do you understand and appreciate?
What are all these dog whistles and talking points?
They're not dog whistles and talking points. They are legitimate areas of concern. You can't just call everyone who disagrees with you transphobic.
Shut up, please.
In this video, you'll see Piers Morgan completely destroy woke ideas, shutting them down in just a few words. Watch as he calls out the flaws and proves them wrong over and over again. In this interview, Morgan does exactly that by breaking down woke logic and proving that it's complete BS in just a few seconds.
I'm a big Messi fan, but let me just explain this.
Answer my question. Would you allow him, if he said I'm a woman, to play in the American women's national team?
You're using the wrong pronoun
Yes, right now. Hell yeah, are you kidding me?
Wow.
Messi on the US women's national team? Hell yeah.
Would you allow Usain Bolt to do that and be in the sprinting team?
Yes, because that would mean they're a trans woman. They identify as women.
I get it. So just to be clear, you'd let Lionel Messi play in the women's national football team and destroy women's football forever. You'd let Usain Bolt...
it'd be very difficult to get a ticket, which would suck.
I want to do a little checklist here. You'd let Usain Bolt compete as a sprinter in the American women's Olympic team?
Yes.
Okay. You would let Floyd Mayweather compete as a boxer in the women's American boxing team?
Yeah,
you are a
you have to be like the heavyweight
lunatic.
Morgan hits hard with a question to the point. If Messi or Usain Bolt suddenly identified as women, should they be allowed to compete in women's sports? According to woke logic, the answer would be yes. But Piers isn't having it. He points out that letting biological men dominate women's sports isn't promoting equality at all. It's completely absurd and unfair. His argument makes it clear that while the intentions might seem inclusive, the reality is that it weakens the fairness of women's competition.
It's not difficult, is it, Angelica? I mean, that is what a woman is.
I mean, I don't know why you're obsessed with defining it. Like, what is a man? Like, why do we need these arbitrary...
A man is a male, adult human. I mean, that's it.
Right, okay, I don't know that we need
these are just biological facts, but they're just facts. They're not arguable points, are they?
But I think we have a right to self-identify, and you said want to...
As what?
If you'd like to be a woman, you can identify as a woman. I don't know why there is such an issue around...
We've literally just seen a male rapist use that scam to get himself put into a female prison where he could attack vulnerable women inside a female prison, when even his ex-wife said it was all a scam.
I'm sorry to say it, but these people are just straight up brain dead. What does it matter what a man is? I'll tell you why it matters. Because that is how our entire society and civilization is built upon. 2 + 2 is equal to 4. If one day you could just say, no, I believe 2 + 2 equals 7, and that every single person has their own output on what 2 + 2 equals, then we don't live in a functioning society. That is just straight up anarchy. A man is somebody who is born with male genitalia. A female is born with female genitalia. Simple as that. You can call yourself a male, you can call yourself an elephant, you can call yourself anything you want, but you cannot push your narratives and your delusions down my throat. That's not the way it works. I don't push my thoughts down your throat. The least you could do is not push it down mine. It's actually terrifying that the new generation, the younger kids, are being taught this insanity. And going back to the whole female sports thing, how on earth do you think it's fair Floyd Mayweather boxing a female? There would be fatalities in the ring. And the fact that it's not registering in their minds that that is a possibility goes to show these people are so delusional. By allowing men into female sports, all that you are doing is effectively destroying all female sports. This has nothing to do with tolerance, and if you ask me, this is abuse.
Challenges the confusion about what defines a woman, emphasizing that it's a simple biological fact. Men are adult male humans, and women are adult female humans. He points out serious problems that arise when this right is misused. This makes you wonder, are woke beliefs about gender identity causing more harm than good? Watch how, in the next clip, Piers Morgan completely humiliates a woke individual who tries to run away from the conversation and not answer the questions.
What,
Exuberant about it.
are you blaming gay people for that? I mean,
No!
I thought the companies...
Honestly, I don't care what sexuality anybody is. I don't think most people do anymore.
Right, so what is the problem then? Why are you so triggered by a flag?
I'll tell
It's
you
a
what
rainbow
problem.
flag.
I'll
You
tell
mentioned Regent Street.
I'm not triggered by a rainbow flag. I'm triggered by the fact that everywhere I go for a calendar month, everything has to be a rainbow flag. And
Well, I'm triggered that everywhere I go for the entire year, everything has to be straight. Why is straight
Where's
everywhere?
my straight flag?
Why am I constantly
Where
getting
is
straight
my
people?
straight
Why
flag?
are straight people holding hands in the
When
street?
have you ever seen a straight flag?
Why has Mickey Mouse got a
Tell me
girlfriend?
one straight flag
Why are
hanging
you
right now
pushing-
anywhere in the world.
Why are straight people
Where
pushing
is the straight flag?
identity
Where's the
onto
straight
me?
flag?
Everywhere.
Where's my straight flag?
It's everywhere.
It's never been a straight flag.
The woke beliefs just make no sense. When you try to debate them or ask through questions, people often dodge the issue and throw out vague answers, thinking it'll make them look right. Piers Morgan keeps proving that this is correct day by day. In another interview Piers has done with the Diary of a CEO in 2022, he answered the questions, why is woke culture destroying our society? And what he said was really interesting.
You've seen how this has got progressively more, let's say, the world has got progressively more woke. I think algorithms and Twitter...
the world has moved from being
right, okay, to
by
a new
the
type.
original.
Right.
I think that most people in the 60s, 70s, and 80s wanted to see better racial equality and social equality. Most people. But that's what the original definition of woke was. The modern day woke is nothing to do with that. The modern day woke is a form of fascism.
Okay, so
you will abide by our rules or you get destroyed. That's the difference to me.
Piers Morgan starts the interview by pointing out how the world has progressively changed, specifically how the term woke has evolved over time. In the 60s, 70s, and 80s, woke was about supporting racial and social equality, which most people backed. However, the modern interpretation of woke has shifted, becoming more extreme and authoritarian. He likens today's woke culture to a form of fascism, where people are forced to follow strict rules or risk being destroyed if they don't comply.
Of this modern day wokeism,
Yeah.
right? And I've seen it on social media, the way that algorithms work as well. They show you more of the same, they keep reinforcing
Yeah.
you. Then because you build an audience of the same people, they clap more when you say a certain thing.
Yes.
To kind of reinforce
You preach to your choir.
Yeah.
You know, the analogy I would use, you go back 2,000 years, we lived in tribes.
Yeah, that's right in your book, yeah.
Right, and I told the story, you never used to come out of your tribe. So everyone in the tribe would look the same attitudes, eat the same food, drink the same drink, same senses of humor, because you never moved out of this group of people. And then people began to move out of their tribes and meet other tribes who dressed differently, thought differently, laughed at different things, maybe spoke differently. And both tribes in that moment decided the only answer to this was to kill each other. Well, that's where we've gone back to.
Piers Morgan talks about how modern woke culture has taken over and how social media algorithms make it worse. He points out that platforms show you more of the same stuff you already like, creating a bubble where people just agree with each other. This makes it harder to see different opinions. He compares this to how people used to live in tribes thousands of years ago, where everyone locked, thought, and acted the same. When tribes met others who were different, they often fought. Morgan believes we've gone back to this way of thinking, where people attack others instead of trying to understand them.
So this is what I wanted to say is your antidote for this new wokeism is to lead and to create a counter-narrative, which is what you're doing with your new show, Piers Morgan Uncensored. It's what you did with your book as well. Are you optimistic deeply that that will win?
Well, let me ask you a question. So I'm described as highly controversial, right? I've been called all sorts of names. People say that what I say, things I say are outrageous. When you read my book, how many times did you stop and think, that's outrageous?
No, I didn't really disagree with anything.
Right. So that's my point. I don't think I'm the controversial one.
Well, so
I think I come at this from a reasonably common sense
in your book,
perspective.
I didn't disagree with you at all.
Yeah.
Because you were talking about things like popularism and liberalism and how it's changed. I completely agree. I think I used to identify as being on the left. Now I don't, because
because they're nuts, a lot of them.
Yeah, a lot of it is absolutely nuts. I also don't really identify with being on the right either, because they're nuts
I agree.
as well.
I agree.
So I find myself in this
You get
middle
nuts
point.
on both sides, and we're moving to the extremities.
But I'll get cancelled from both sides.
That point perfectly illustrates everything wrong with the world today. Just the fact that Piers Morgan is perceived as controversial and edgy just because he decides to ask questions, just to see how far they're willing to go in this insane ideology. And he's exactly right. It's not only the left that has become radical. The right has as well. But if you ask me, the left has really brought it to a new level and a new extreme because they're willing to attack and destroy anybody who sides with Donald Trump. Just look at Elon Musk. This man was the left's hero for years and years. They look to this man as a god. He's the king of electric vehicles. It's because of him that America has really pivoted towards electric cars. And just because he decides to support Donald Trump, they're willing to vandalize, throw firebombs at Teslas, just because they have a difference in political opinions. Say what you will about the right, I don't see them committing acts of violence whatsoever. A good rule of thumb I have is those who engage in violence instead of political discourse and conversation are generally on the bad side of history.
He explains that both the extreme left and right criticize him because he doesn't fully align with either side. Instead, he aims to create a counter-narrative with his show and book, challenging the extremes in today's culture.
Because I don't wear the football kit of either.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
So I want to bring back a more consensus-related society, where you reach points of agreement through debate, and you don't try and shame or cancel each other for having different opinions, because that's at the core of this. You know, they call themselves liberals. They're not liberal. Liberalism isn't about an inability to tolerate other opinions. It's the opposite. Right? You're supposed to tolerate and respect other opinions and agree to disagree. We've lost this in society because a small group of people, but very vocal and very angry about everything all the time, they are driving an agenda which, if we go down that road, will be the end of a democratic society as we know it.
Piers wants to bring back a society where we can actually debate and find common ground, instead of shaming or canceling people for having different views. True liberalism is about respecting and tolerating opposing opinions, but today's so-called liberals have flipped that idea on its head. A small, loud, and constantly angry group is pushing an agenda that shuts down any disagreement. If we keep going down this path, Morgan warns, it could spell the end of a truly democratic society. Honestly, I think he's got a point. Healthy debate seems to be getting lost in all the noise, and that's a problem.
So I see myself humbly as trying to defend democracy. Genuinely. I know, and humility is not something that comes naturally to me, but genuinely trying to defend what democracy really is and trying to educate these wokies about what real liberalism is, what democracy actually means, what free speech means. Free speech is not about you in an echo chamber all agreeing with each other. As Churchill said, free speech is about listening to views you just don't agree with, but allowing people to have different views.
Piers is speaking facts right now. He's framing himself as a defender of real democracy, pushing back against the modern woke crowd who he feels have misunderstood liberalism. He points out that true democracy and free speech mean being able to listen to and tolerate opinions you don't agree with. Free speech isn't about shutting down different views, but embracing them, even when they challenge your beliefs. The problem with these wokies is that they claim to stand for tolerance, but they're the first to try and silence anyone who doesn't agree with them. They've twisted what it means to be liberal and are pushing an agenda that's all about control, not freedom. Honestly, their constant outrage and need to cancel everything that doesn't fit their narrative is total BS. Real progress comes from debate, not censorship. Piers Morgan isn't afraid to speak his mind, even when it's not popular. While a lot of people are careful not to upset anyone, Morgan goes straight to the heart of controversial issues.
I'll tell you what, I don't agree with everything that Piers Morgan has ever said. Quite the contrary, there's a good number of things that I really do disagree with. But the thing is, he is actually doing good work for humanity because he's willing to hear contrary opinions. He's willing to hear people out. In fact, I could think of 2 to 3 people off the top of my head who were canceled off of social media, and he decided to bring them on his show so that he can have a discussion and talk about the issues that got them canceled and censored, and they can have a debate about what actually happened. So that's something I really do respect about him, is that he has character and conviction within himself, and he's not bought and paid for. He's not a political hack who gets a script from his executives on what he can and cannot say. I genuinely believe Piers Morgan just says whatever the heck he wants, and I have a great deal of respect for that. But something that really does bother me is why are liberals so obsessed with canceling and censoring opposing ideas? You can disagree with me in every single aspect. I still want you to speak. I still want you to have a voice. The sheer fact that they're trying to silence you tells you everything that you need to know. The only reason to rip out a man's tongue is not because they're telling lies. It's because you fear what they might say. I truly do believe in order for society to genuinely flourish, we need to have the exchange of ideas. We need to give people the freedom to say what they want to say. It might offend you. It doesn't mean you have to listen. You can go on and do something else with your life. But people need to have the ability to express themselves openly and not have to fear for their life or fear that they're going to end up in jail. Just look at what's happening in London and United Kingdom. People are sharing posts on social media and they are being imprisoned. If you ask me, that sort of behavior is absolutely criminal. I don't know how every single person in the UK does not stand up and say enough, because that should not be happening there, here, or anywhere. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this down below. What do you think of Piers Morgan? What would you classify him? Would you say he's a conservative, a liberal, an independent? Let me know. Where do you think he lands on that scale? And yeah, if you enjoyed, make sure to smash that like, comment, subscribe, and wish you guys nothing but the best. Till next time.